If you have been waiting for the pre-owned Rolex market to crash before finally pulling the trigger on that dream watch, the data suggests you may have already missed the boat. According to WatchCharts, the overall Rolex Market Index has risen 6.7% over the past year and is up another 3.2% over the last 6 months. A clear signal that the prolonged post-pandemic correction is finally coming to an end. Meanwhile, Rolex has raised prices twice in 2026 alone. A 6.2% increase in January, followed by a further 5% hike on gold models in June, driven by soaring bullion prices and unwavering demand from wealthy buyers. In other words, the era of ever-cheaper Rolexes is over, but that does not mean there are no great watches left to buy. In fact, 2026 has delivered some of the most surprising, controversial, and breathtaking releases in the brand's history. We are counting down from number 10 to number 1, and by the end, you will understand exactly why this is one of the most exciting years to be a Rolex collector in recent memory. 10. Rolex Oyster Perpetual 34, Ref. 124205 Everose Gold. What happens when Rolex takes its most accessible, entry-level collection and drenches it in solid 18-karat Everose Gold? You get the single most surprising release of 2026, a full precious metal Oyster Perpetual 34 that blurs the line between the brand's affordable gateway and its high-end dress watches. For decades, the Oyster Perpetual has been the steel-only starting point for new collectors. But 2026 shattered that expectation. This 34mm beauty features a bluestone lacquer dial paired with 3-hour markers at 3, 6, and 9 o'clock set in dumortierite, a natural mineral known for its mesmerizing light and dark blue shading that shifts with every angle of your wrist. 9. Rolex Explorer 40, Ref. 224270. If there is one current production Rolex still flying under the radar, it is the Explorer 40. According to WatchCharts, this model is still changing hands on the secondary market for around £6,378, roughly £570 below its £6,950 retail price. In a market where most Rolex sports models command hefty premiums, the Explorer remains one of the few less-than-list bargains left. Originally inspired by Rolex's association with Himalayan mountaineering, including the historic 1953 ascent of Everest, the 40mm version offers all the durability and everyday wearability of a Submariner without the inflated price tag. No date window, no Cyclops, no complications. Just pure, functional timekeeping in one of the most iconic silhouettes ever designed. It is the Rolex for people who do not need to prove anything to anyone. 8. Rolex Oyster Perpetual 41 100 years. Rolex does not do limited editions in the traditional sense, but the Oyster Perpetual 41 100 years comes as close as anything in the current catalog. To mark the centenary of the Oyster case, the revolutionary waterproof architecture that, since 1926, has defined the modern wristwatch, Rolex introduced a special two-tone configuration where only the bezel and crown are in yellow gold, while the bracelet remains all steel. This is a deliberate nod to early-generation Oyster Perpetuals from the 1950s, and the effect is strikingly vintage. But the real intrigue lies in the details. The slate-gray sunray dial features a green Rolex logo, green hour plots, and the inscription 100 years at 6 o'clock in place of the usual Swiss-made Rolex Datejust 41. Green ombre dial. Rolex knows that sometimes the smallest changes make the biggest impact. The new green ombre dial for the Datejust 41, available in oyster steel with a white Rolser fluted bezel, is a perfect example of this philosophy. The deep green lacquer fades to black at the edges, creating a gradient effect that adds remarkable depth to the classic silhouette. It is a dial that seems to pull light into itself, shifting from emerald to obsidian depending on the angle and the ambient light. Inside beats the caliber 3235, offering 70 hours of power reserve and superlative chronometer precision. But if you think this is the most exciting Datejust of the year, you have not seen what comes next, because Rolex took the iconic fluted bezel and replaced it with something far more brilliant. And yes, it sparkles. 6. Rolex Yacht-Master II, Ref. 1266 80126688. Many assumed Rolex had quietly discontinued the Yacht-Master II when it vanished from the official catalog last year. Instead, it returned in 2026 with a complete redesign, slimmer, more refined, and undeniably improved. The 44mm case is thinner than its predecessor, thanks to the new caliber 4162 movement, and the regatta countdown timer has been moved to the dial's periphery for better legibility. But the most polarizing change is also the most intriguing. The bezel no longer bears the words Yacht-Master II in huge capital letters, a detail that many collectors loathed and now, just as suddenly, find themselves missing. The blue Cerachrom bezel now presents a cleaner, more sophisticated face that has divided the Rolex community like nothing else this year. 5. Rolex GMT-Master II Pepsi. In a shock move for 2026, Rolex discontinued the legendary Pepsi GMT-Master II, the iconic blue and red bezel that has been a cornerstone of the collection since the 1950s. That decision has instantly elevated existing examples to near-mythical status. The 40mm Oyster steel case, the bidirectional rotatable bezel with its red and blue Cerachrom insert, and the caliber 3285 movement with a 70-hour power reserve make this one of the most capable and desirable travel watches ever created. With the Pepsi now out of production, demand has surged and secondary market premiums are climbing fast. 4. Rolex Submariner Date 41mm, Ref 126618LB. The Submariner has been the benchmark dive watch since 1953, and in 2026, the full yellow gold Ref 126618LB remains one of the most spectacular expressions of that legacy. With its 41mm case, blue Cerachrom ceramic bezel, and matching sunburst blue dial, this is a watch that commands attention the moment it enters a room. But beneath the extravagance lies serious horological engineering. The caliber 3235 delivers a 70-hour power reserve and superlative chronometer accuracy, while the triplock winding crown ensures 300 meters of water resistance. 3. Rolex Cosmograph Daytona, Ref 126502 Relesium. If there is one release that defined Rolex's 2026 sports lineup, it is the new Cosmograph Daytona in Relesium. For the very first time, Rolex has cased its legendary chronograph in a combination of oyster steel and platinum, a material pairing previously reserved for the Yacht-Master. The result is a 40mm masterpiece with a stainless steel middle case, a platinum exhibition caseback, and an anthracite gray Cerachrom bezel featuring horizontally aligned tachymeter engravings. It is one of the most significant Daytonas ever made, but as spectacular as this Relesium Daytona is, it cannot claim the top 2 spots on our list. Those belong to 2 watches that have completely redefined what Rolex can be. 2. Rolex GMT-Master II Root Beer. If the Pepsi is the loud, nostalgic party guest, the Root Beer is the quietly charismatic connoisseur who commands the room without saying a word. Known to collectors for its warm, soda-inspired tones, the GMT-Master II Root Beer has become one of the most desirable modern GMT references in the Rolex lineup. And in 2026, it has only grown more alluring, available in 2 variations. The two-tone Everos Rolser Ref 126711CHNR and the full 18-karat Everos Gold Ref 126715CHNR. The black dial is complemented by a brown and black two-tone Cerachrom bezel, a color combination that sets it apart from the more common Pepsi and Batman colorways. 1. Rolex Day-Date 40 President Ref 228235JG Jubilee GL. They call it the President for a reason. Since its launch in 1956, the Rolex Day-Date has been the ultimate symbol of success, power, and refinement. It is the only Rolex collection produced exclusively in precious metals, platinum and 18-karat gold, and it has been manufactured without interruption for 70 years. American presidents, including Lyndon B. Johnson, made it their signature in the 1960s, and the nickname stuck. But in 2026, Rolex took the most prestigious watch in its lineup and made it even more extraordinary.